As misinformation and so-called fake news continues to be rapidly distributed on the internet, our reality has become increasingly shaped by false information. As the Axios article, "We Live in a Fake World," points out, many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Sara Fischer wrote that article, and she's a reporter for Axios Media and joins us right now. So the article is really good because it really sort of like ticks off time after time after time that we have consumed or been exposed to inaccurate information. The internet was supposed to make us, more savvy, right? How did we get to this point? And what's driving this spread of misinformation, especially now that we've, for the last few years, have been talking a lot about, guarding against misinformation, and it doesn't seem to be making a difference.
It's such a good point, Anne-Marie. The internet was supposed to be the democratizing force in our elections, in our dialogue, and in our country and in around the world. And what we're seeing now is the opposite is happening. Instead, a few powerful bad actors are taking advantage of the openness of the internet, and they're creating opportunities to deceive people, whether that's creating fake news or creating botnets to spread fake news. And as you mentioned, it's causing a lot of confusion. People don't know if the videos that they're watching are real, if the voices and audio that they're listening to has been doctored. This makes it really hard for us to maintain open dialogue around elections and politics. And quite frankly, no one knows what's going to come next in 2020.
Sarah, I'm sure you saw that interview that Anderson Cooper did on CNN with a Facebook executive when he pressed her on why the video that has been doctored showing Nancy Pelosi slurring her words is still up on Facebook's on the Facebook platform. And the language around it is very lukewarm at best. It says that there's additional reporting. It doesn't even say that it's been doctored or that it's not real. And he pressed her on being in the news business. Which is what Facebook is in. And she said, no, we're in the social media business.
They want to be.
They want to be, but they are not. And when the fight against propaganda is already difficult, and you've got a massive company like Facebook that is out there allowing misinformation to be displayed on their platform, what's a person to do when they're just getting videos that are sent to them by your grandmother who just saw something that popped up on the internet?
Mm-hmm. Let's break that down for a second. So one, the Nancy Pelosi video that is still up today on Facebook hasn't been removed, says Facebook's VP of Public Policy, Monica Bicker, because it's not technically related to violence, terrorism, or impacting public safety. Now, the reason that Facebook doesn't want to outright call it false news or fake news is because they've in the past tried labeling things as fake news, and what they've found is that when they do that, people are more susceptible to click and share it. And so that is a weird psychological thing that Facebook is going through, that they don't want to explicitly call or label something fake news because they're worried it's going to make the problem worse. So what do? After 32 hours, after their fact-checking network established that it was indeed doctored, they decided to stop the distribution of it, although leaving it up. And if you do encounter the video, it puts up, as Anne-Marie mentioned, this very vague thing that says, okay, well, this is, there's other reporting around this article. I think the fundamental question here is, why does Facebook think that this is not an issue with public safety, or this is not a problem that would be akin to something like violence or terrorism, that it would remain standing on the platform? That's the big argument here. Okay, maybe this is not leading to terrorism, but it's impacting our political discourse. Now, Facebook is sticking true. They said, look, we don't just eliminate something because it impacts political discourse in this way. And so I think personally that's Facebook's fundamental issue ahead of 2020, is that it's taking a very strong stance here and letting that video stay on its platform.
We've talked a lot, actually, Vlad and I, about like the idea of a fact and truth, and what does it mean now when once upon a time, and now I'll use a Vladism, I'm going to date myself, or I'm old enough to know, or remember when you would go to the encyclopedia and you would find out a fact, right? You would find out that Pluto was in fact a planet or it wasn't a planet, right? Now I Google that and I get pages and pages of different information. I don't know, is it a planet? Is it a rock? Is it a star? And so it's almost like, having access to more information has made things even more confusing for us. And in your article, you sort of tick off how this misinformation has reshaped our society. And you talk about, very specific things, driving the news, the power of fake influence. Can you sort of just tick off some of them for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about what makes things or facts fake. We have seen in articles that bad actors are citing fake think tanks. I've actually researched some of those fake think tank websites, and they'll take pictures from people's LinkedIns who are real accredited researchers, and they'll put them on their website. These academics don't even know it's happening. They will cite fake sources. They will use botnets to elevate their reporting so it gets tons of, or reporting their fake news, so it gets tons of retweets and tons of likes so that it shows up in people's news feeds. So those are some of the tactics they use. What are the outcomes? Well, we've seen a few examples this year where, one, you have fake sort of crises that are being developed because of fake news. The anti-vax problem, where there's huge measles outbreaks across the country because people are not getting vaccinated, the CDC has attributed that to false information online about anti-vaccination. There's also been instances where there are fake online pharmacies, fake ads about them. People are buying crappy drugs and being impacted. Their health is being impacted. So we are finding that real crises are occurring in the real world because of fake news, false commercialization, fake ads. And so it's a huge problem. Now, at the top of this, we asked, what do we do about it? Like, we can't just let the world function this way. A lot of governing bodies around the world are starting to say, look, we created our government before there was an internet, so we have no one to govern the internet. Maybe we should create an internet regulator. The EU is talking about it. Australia is talking about having an algorithm review board. Here in the U.S., we are so far from having that conversation, but hopefully it's one that we're going to start to have because, quite frankly, we are in trouble here ahead of our elections.
We are. Sarah, thank you so much.
Thank you.